your host of the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show, live on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost in Houston, Texas. And I'm so excited to have you join me on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Central, where we will speak the truth, we'll challenge perspectives, and we'll have a few laughs. Catch the live show on my Facebook page, my LinkedIn page, and my YouTube channel. And you can catch it live on Alexa, the TuneIn app, and the KCOH TV Radio, The Boost page. And my producer, Jerry B. Beasley, is also on Facebook, broadcasting live. So wherever you are, I'll be there too. Let's do this. It's time for the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show live.
Good morning.
Here on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost in Houston, Texas. And I'm your host, Laurel Rutledge, and I cannot wait for the show to start because spending Tuesday mornings with you is a highlight of my week. And if you're listening or watching on one of my pages, be sure to give StreamYard permission so I can see your name and I can see your comments. And let me know where you're tuning in from so I can give you a shout out on the air. I know we have a global audience, and I want to acknowledge you for taking the time to listen to me, for those of you in my time zone, and for those of you who are way out of it. I also want to welcome your questions and your comments. Now, I got to run so I can get ready. See you soon.
Good morning. It is Tuesday morning. Laurel Rutledge here, your host of the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show, live here on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost in Houston, Texas, the historic KCOH TV radio station with our amazing window to the world here on Alameda and Wichita, here in the historic Third Ward. I am so excited to be here, although I might need some air today, Jerry. So watch me be cold in a minute. I'm so, good morning, Kelsey. Oh my gosh. First time listener or watcher. I'm so glad you're here, Kelsey. I love doing this show, right? And so we're going to talk about connections today, but deeper than you think. That's also the topic of the podcast. And this was something that came to me. It was what I wanted to talk about as we end February with, Valentine's Day. There are a lot of people that I love dearly who have birthdays in February. So it's a month of love, right? And so I wanted to end it with connections. And then I tuned in to Jerry yesterday morning, and Jay Sutton was on too, and their conversation, listen to their conversation. It was just, a God wink that said, yes, this is what you need to be talking about. So we're going to talk about connections today. But a couple things first, and Kelsey, you'll appreciate this too. I always talk about voting, always, always, always. So, and I'm going to talk about it first because I don't want to have to stop talking about it to stop talking about connections, talk about voting. Voting is critical. I need you all to make sure you are registered. If you're turning 18, know somebody who's turning 18, a great birthday gift is a voter registration card. Go have them get registered. Go make a date of it. Go have lunch. Go get registered. All that kind of stuff. Make sure you get registered. We do have some elections coming up next week. There's some special elections in Miami and Chicago, and then Connecticut and Georgia also have some special elections. So if you're in one of those places, make sure you understand what's going on. Make sure you are registered. Double check your registration on a regular basis. I usually check mine once a quarter just to be sure that something hadn't happened. They haven't purged me from the polls for whatever madness that they've got going on. So make sure you're checking on a regular basis so that you know that you remain registered in your city, state, county, federally, etc. And because what happens to one of us happens to all of us. Nigeria does have elections coming up. It's a general election on the 25th. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. They are having some real challenges in Nigeria with access to gas, access to cash. The government made a change in cash and wanted to issue all new bills. And so there's people who aren't able to get money out of ATMs. People are lining up for gas because they're not able to get supply. I mean, it's kind of a mess right now. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers for a good, peaceful, effective general election that's coming up on the 25th of February in Nigeria. And then Jamaica is supposed to have a election this month as well. But the NDI still says that kind of the date is TBD. So keep them in your thoughts as well. Because if it's supposed to be in February and they're still trying to figure out the date, that means there's a lot going on. So keep thinking about them, because what happens to one of us happens to all of us, right? The world is getting so much smaller. We can't just pretend, well, that's just happening over there. No, that's not how it works anymore. So get registered, check your registration on a regular basis. When there is an election coming up, take the time to go to your county board of elections in the U.S., county board of elections, or you can go to Ballotpedia. You can go to When We All Vote. You can go to vote.gov. Those are places you can find out rules of registration for your state. You can get sample ballots of what's going on. You can get information on the candidates. If you want to run, you can get information on how to run. When We All Vote, Ballotpedia, and vote.org, vote.gov, G-O-V, vote.gov. Go to real sites, y'all, that are giving you real information. You can also get the election protection hotline on When We All Vote. So if something's going on that's funky, you've got a number you can call, a hotline number. So make sure you are getting yourself ready to have your voice heard. We have more elections than just the one that happens every 4 years federally, right? And it starts local. So pay attention to what's going on in your city, your mayors, your councils, your school boards. Let me say that one more time. Your school boards. Make sure you're paying attention, because there's some shady shenanigans happening. And it's really important that we pay attention to those. So I just got off of, we're going to dive into connections now. And thank you all for being here. Everybody who's here, Kelsey in the greater Dallas area. Thank you so much. I haven't seen you in so long. We got to catch up. Thank you for all of y'all on the KCOH page. Thank you for those of you listening on Facebook, on YouTube, everybody else on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to talk about connections in this context. You know, we often talk about being connected, right? That we got the job, or they got the job because they were connected. Our networks, right? They're really well connected. That's why things happen for them. We don't necessarily use the word connected or the idea of connections as something to try to do, to go after, to make happen. It's like a bad word, right? To be connected. But I've got a different perspective on that, because connections are key, just like having a village is key. I want to talk about connections in terms of what is that impact that you are trying to make in the world, right? In the world at large. What is the legacy you're trying to leave? Who are you trying to serve? Where are you trying to serve? And what is that impact, right, that you're trying to make? Because in order to make an impact, you've got to be connected, right? Leadership is about getting things done with, through, and for other people. It's not about ego. It's not about you. If you're in a leadership position, it's not about you. It's about everybody else. And in order to do those things and make those amazing things happen, you've got to be connected. Now, as a type A insecure overachiever, right? Introverted, who presents as extroverted, that whole networking, getting out there, glad handing, chit chatting, I would rather pluck out my eyelashes. I really would. It's a lot for me to just network, just to network. No. But my friend Hong, we were talking about this because she's introverted too. She runs her own business. She has an incredible executive recruiting firm that really does some amazing, especially diversity recruiting for high-level senior executives. And we were talking about this because she's fairly introverted too. And we're saying, man, it's just, ugh. And she said, well, yes, Keller, Texas. She said, you know what? I walk into every room, and what I say is, I just want to connect with the one person that I can serve. I'm not trying to meet everybody. I'm not trying to shake hands with everybody. I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. I want to show up so that one person that I am supposed to be there to serve can find me and I can serve them. And I thought, you know what? That I can work with. I'm not there for the masses. I'm there for the one person that is looking for me. Like that works for me. That makes sense, right? That feels good. That feels doable. That feels possible, right? I'm there for the one person who needs me. So when we started talking about connections this morning, I'm like, let me think about this, because I was at an event in Mexico last year, and it was a retreat with one of my coaches, and you will hear from her in March. She's one of the interviews that you will hear during Women's History Month. And it was a great retreat, lots of time for us to kind of soak in and rest and relax and recharge. And every time we had these conversations in the room, I was like, oh, I need to introduce you to, right? And then somebody else would say something like, oh, I need to introduce you to. I'll send an email to connect you guys. I'll do the virtual introduction. And I've done the same thing with people in the Black Podcasters Association. For those of you who are Black creatives and have a podcast, want to do a podcast, thinking about a podcast, the Black Podcasters Association is where you need to be. Go check out the Black Podcasters Association. They're on IG, they're on TikTok, right, on Twitter. It's just an incredible organization, and you need to be a part of that. If you are a Black creative trying to make a difference in that podcast space, you need to check them out. Reach out to Corey, tell him I sent you. Corey Gums, tell him I sent you. But we were when I think about those connections, I've connected people to BPA, I've connected people to other people, I've connected friends to other friends. And so I had someone reach out to me and was like, hey, Laurel, I've listened to your podcast. I'm taking on some new clients. I don't take on everybody, but I really like your message. And can we talk about it? And he just so happened to reach out to me when I was in the process of saying, I have got to find someone to produce this podcast. I'm spending way too much time editing the video, posting the video, just all the things. And so I reached out to him. He happens to be in Houston, and Jay Sutton, Destroying Doubt Media. He happens to be in Houston. We got connected. He's been doing my posting for all my podcasts starting so far in 2023. He's been editing them and putting those out for me on Wednesdays. And I thought, you know what? I need to do some behind the scenes at the radio station, because he came out of TV, he came out of radio. And I thought, I need to do that. And he had mentioned to me, I do videography kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, come to the station. Let's look at it, because I want some behind the scenes to put on my sizzle reel, to put on my website. Plus, I want you to meet Jerry. She is the manager of the station. She's got her own show. She's doing some things. Just y'all need to meet. Long story short, I bring him up here. They meet. Next thing I know, they're talking equipment. They're talking shows. He's come back up here and talked to her. He's like getting ready to produce a show. He's getting ready to have his own show. And I heard them on the radio show yesterday, on Jerry's show yesterday. Again, about connections, right? I heard them on Jerry's show yesterday, and gave me a beautiful shout out. And I so appreciate that. It made my heart full. But what it said to me was this: it's not about having connections, right? It's not about the kind of the bad tone we put on that, is that being connected, right? It's about the impact that those connections make. It's about the impact that those connections make. Jay said on the show yesterday that he had been talking about getting back into radio. He'd been talking with his wife about getting back into radio. And he had said something to me about that too, right? That he came out of TV and radio. Jerry, the only reason I'm in this studio is because I have a deep connection with my friend Hong, who I talked about earlier, who recommended me to be on a show with Adrian and Ben Hall in this station. And I said yes. And Jerry saw something in me. Jerry, my producer extraordinaire, saw something in me and said, you need to do a show, which y'all have heard me say. I was like, let me think about it, right? That was in December of 2019. Now, mind you, January 2019, I said, I want to be more visible. I put that out there as an intent. A show shows up in August. I'm like, oh, I don't know, right? Because I wasn't connecting it to visibility. So a connection connected me to the show, connected me to Jerry. Other connections said, you need to do the show, right? We started in March, pandemic hit, right? But we kept going. And through this time, I have listened to Jerry, her dreams for the station, right? Her dreams for the stuff that she's doing, her dreams for new shows, her connection with Ben Hall, who owns the station, and the things he wants for the station, the things she's looking for. And I listen to that. I actively listen to her dreams and desires and her vision for what's going on. Not only for the station as a whole, but even for my show and how I'm reaching people, the global audience we have now, that I wouldn't have had she not seen something in me, had I not said yes, and had I not kept showing up, right? It's the impact of that connection that she made with me that it is enabling me to do this. And then to connect with Jay, listening to what he was saying, understanding I had a need. He was here at the studio with me to meet my need. But it just so happens because he showed up, he was able to connect with some of Jerry's needs to be able to meet hers, and another show's needs to be able to meet theirs. The connections that were made because there was a willingness to be open to possibilities, a willingness to listen to someone else's dreams and desires. Because it's not about you all the time. It's not about me all the time. It is about how we show up in this world with a purpose to show other people, right? To impact other people, to leave our little spot better than it was when we got here, right? There's a reason for each of us. There's a reason we are here. There is a reason we show up. There's a reason we keep doing the things that we do. And it's not just out of selfishness, right? There's that 1 or 2% of people who only do stuff for the benefit of themselves. Of course. It takes all kinds, right? There's always those. But for the majority of people, right? The majority of people, there is a bigger reason why you do what you do and why you are where you are, why you get up every morning, why you go to that job, right? You may hate the job, but you love your team. And so you're going to keep showing up because you want to be connected to your team and you want to give connections to them so they can continue to grow and thrive and move and do amazing things. There's a reason that I do this work, right? That I talk about being your chief navigation officer, about navigating those spaces that are difficult. It's about connections, right? And I connect people not because I want to be called the great connector, right? When she told me, oh my gosh, you're a great connector. That's what you do is connect people. I hadn't even thought about it. I'm just listening to what people say they want and need and thinking like it's automatic for me, right? Thinking through my Rolodex, thinking through my network and saying, oh man, I know so-and-so who's talked about that or has that skill, and I know what they're trying to do, and this may be an opportunity for them to connect. And even if nothing comes of it, the connection was made. They know somebody else or somebody else in their village and somebody else that they may be able to uplift when the need arises, right? That's why I get so irritated by some of the things on LinkedIn right now, where somebody's reaching out to you. Oh, I really want to connect. I've seen your stuff. I really want to connect. And the next thing you know, you get this big sales pitch. Stop, right? It's about genuinely understanding the need of someone. Just because you see podcast in my thing doesn't mean I need another podcast producer or that I need someone to pump up my YouTube channel and my Instagram followers and all that. That's not what I'm going after. I'm going after impact. And followers does not automatically equal impact. It just doesn't. We all know that now, right? But we had this series of pandemic times where we got these multimillionaire influencers, right? And they just influence. They're just on social media all the time. And that's great. That's their business. It is what they do. And they're really good at it. And they've made a fantastic living at it. And if you want something, need something, desire something, want to create something that's deeper than just an influence, it's an impact, then you think about your connections differently. The connections aren't just the number that's ticking up. The connections is about seeing a name and knowing you can reach out with an email. You can reach out with a call. You can reach out and say, hey, I remember you said so-and-so, and I just ran into this other person who needs so-and-so. I'm going to do this virtual introduction if that's okay with you. That's what connections are about. Yes, there's the whole being connected, right? That's real. The nepotism is real, right? What's the new thing now? Nepo babies that they're calling in Hollywood, right? Nepotism is real. We know that. We know all that stuff, right? But there's some good, deep reasons behind connection. There's some real purpose in connection. And that is about impact. You know, I didn't introduce Jay and Jerry so they could say something on the air about me. I did it because I was like, you know what? I know what Jerry's trying to do. I know what her vision is. And this is somebody who may be somebody she can connect with. I don't know if it'll work, but at least it definitely won't work if the connection isn't made, if the introduction wasn't made, right? Just like they say, we have not if we ask not. If you never ask, the answer is always no. So I didn't do it with the purpose of fulfilling my need. I just happened to have a need that he was fulfilling at the time and could do it in a way that could serve a bigger purpose. That's what connections are about, right? This whole idea of love and purpose and support, right, is about connection. It's about communication. It is about understanding what it really means to be in this human community, to be in this space where the impact is bigger than you. The impact is greater than you. If you are in an organization, you're a leader, what connections are you making not only for you, but for your people, right? I think of connections in a corporate sense as sponsorships. Sponsorships. Are you being a sponsor for the people on your team? When there's something going on in a room and your team isn't in the room, but you are, what connections are you making for them in that space that supports them, that supports what they're trying to do, that supports where they're trying to show up, right? What is that greater connection you're making with understanding, oh, I just had all these development conversations with my people, and these are the things that they want, and this is what they want to see. Or, right, these are the skills I know they need to build based on their ultimate goals. I was just in a meeting. We got this new project coming up. There's going to be an opportunity to do this. I need to make that connection for the organization and for this person. Connections is about connecting overall outcomes to a path, not getting so connected to the plan, right? The plan is your outline. You got to have a plan, right? Because to go without a plan is just a wish. But you got to be flexible enough in the plan that when you see additional information come in, you can flex to that. You can respond to that. So when someone says there's something that they want, yet their behavior is counter to that, that you're able to see it and say, okay, you say you want to be CEO, but here are the things you really don't want to do. You do not excel at these things. So if you really say you want CEO, I can help make connections for you to fill these gaps so that you can really get to what you say you want. Or let's have a deep conversation about what you really want and what that really means and how we can maybe readjust, redefine, realign some things so that you can really be sitting in your genius about whatever it is you want to do, right? Both of those things are possible. All those things can be true. Connections is about how are you really invested in the other person and the other person's needs, and how they are investing in you, and how that connection in and of itself moves the needle forward, moves the plan forward, right? Keeps things moving in a direction that is positive and impactful and insightful, that leaves you open to listen actively, to care about the other person enough to understand where the connection can be of most benefit to them. That's what connections are about. It's not about just being connected, right? Because we can all be connected. We all know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. All of us. But can you pick up the phone? Can you pick up the phone and call them when you need something? Better yet, can you pick up the phone and ask them to support someone else? And because you are asking and they know you, the likelihood of them being able to do that, if it is at all in their power, is pretty high. That's a connection. That's a meaningful connection. That's more than just an acquaintance. That's more than just someone in your, and I'm aging myself, in your Rolodex, right? In your contact list. It's more than that. Connections are deeper than that. Being connected is living into your impact, living into your purpose, right? In order to ensure that that impact and that purpose finds a place, finds a way to manifest and come into the world and be visible, right? That's what connections are about. Sorry, I'm so fired up because it was so powerful. And we had such a great conversation this morning. That's why I was running in here. And I told Jerry, I'm going to need some air today. Because we had a woman named Nikki Lanier on my HR Leadership Network this morning. She was fantastic in the D&I space, talking about racial equity and even underlying everything that she was saying. And she was so powerful, underlying everything that she was saying. gets at this idea of being connected to someone else's narrative, connected to someone else's position, connected to someone else's humanity, right? I mean, it was just, I'm telling y'all, Dina, if you're listening or listening in replay, I've got to connect you with Nikki. I just realized what I just did, because the whole time I'm listening to her, I'm like, I have got to connect you with Dina. And that's it, y'all. It is organic for me. It is seeing genius at play and knowing that a high tide lifts all boats, right? Connecting genius to genius, connecting especially amazing BIPOC people to other people. Even last night in the BPA, Gerald, I got to connect you to Jay, right? Because Gerald's got a sports podcast and Jay's getting ready to start his sports show, and they both have this history. I'm like, you know what? Need to connect. Never know if there's going to be an opportunity for a collaboration there, right? And then I thought to myself the other day, I'm like, shoot, that's the business I need to be in, the great connector. That's what I need to be doing. But see, that would require that I get out a lot more and talk to a lot more people. And that just might not be in my zone of genius. So we got to own who we are, right? But it is a narrative that I wish we all could change, that having connections, we don't say that with derision, right? Because again, the narrative that we have is having connections is tied to and basically synonymous with that cisgender white male who is really connected. And that's just not true in its entirety, right? That's just not true in its entirety. Do we have some systemic things that make that possible? Yes. But we all are connected. We all have amazing connections. I'm telling you, some of the strongest connections I've ever seen are folks in an AME church who are doing some amazing things, right? Jack and Jill, the Divine Nine, talk about connections. We are connected, and people are making things happen in the Divine Nine because they're connected. There's an automatic like appreciation. If you are a part of the Divine Nine and you reach out to somebody else who's in the Divine Nine, it just happens, right? It is the sisterhood and the brotherhood. It happens. That's connected. It's just a different level of connection. It is a grander connection. Here's the way to think about it. Those connections that could initially be considered cliquish or nepotism or whatever those other words that are not nice can be thought of as simply descriptors of a relationship that is created by a common bond of either understanding or affiliation, right? Divine Nine connectedness is because we're all a part of Divine Nine. We may not know each other at all. And just because you're in the Divine Nine doesn't mean you're going to love everybody that's in the Divine Nine. That is a misnomer, right? That is not true. But there is an appreciation for experience, an appreciation for sisterhood and brotherhood and connectedness that alleviates a level of questioning, right? A level of skepticism, and opens doors that might not otherwise be open because you are connected by a common thing. You're able to make an impact. You're able to be a sponsor. You're able to be a person who lifts someone else up because there's this common foundation of sameness that enables the connectedness, right? The connection is built upon something that is foundational and that is strong and that is common, right? Nikki Lanier today, when she was talking about equity, that same thing about, and we had this conversation, is often we confuse equality and equity all the time. We also confuse consistency with sameness. Those are two different things. I've talked about that before. Consistency is everybody gets a trophy. Same as everybody gets a gold trophy with the person with the wings on the top that has the same little, moniker on it, and everybody gets a gold medal, right? That's the same. Consistency is everyone is rewarded. Which one is more powerful? Consistency is more powerful because people will listen to what you say, but they will believe what you do. And if you just automatically give everybody the same thing and there's no thought, no nothing put attached to it, what does it really mean? right? Connectedness means you are seeing someone for who they are, the power they bring, right? The unique qualities that they bring, the genius that is them. You're seeing that as a part of the connection upon which you build more connection, genuine regard, right? For lack of a better word. That's what we're talking about today. And we're going to do some shout outs here in a minute, just because I'm parched today. So as you, as we end this month of love, right, and heading into Women's History Month and ending Black History Month and showing, having at least 28 days of showing love to Black people, theoretically, and calling out the genius that we are, think about how that connectedness can continue. Connecting to your story, connection to your narrative, right? Because many of the things we have to do, part of the biggest challenge is our own connection to our own story, our own narrative, owning our own stuff, right? Because that deep work is hard work. That recognizing our own narrative is hard work. That understanding where our fears and gaps and challenges and biases and all those things lie, that's hard work because it always shows up. You know, that's one of the things that Nikki Lanier was saying this morning. It always shows up. Those things that we believe, we've talked about here, that nervous system, right? There are facts, there are things that are facts, but what is the story we are telling ourselves around the facts, right? Our experiences are real, but what is the story we're telling ourselves about the experiences and how they landed for us? Because the story may or may not be true. The facts are what they are, but what is the story? What is the narrative, right? It's the insight through the information where the power lies. All right, we're gonna do some shout outs, Jerry.
We have Canada, Australia, Brazil, Panama, Netherlands, France, Mexico, Germany, Finland. We have Dubai.
Yay, right. Hey, Dubai.
Panama City, Frankfurt, Helsinki, New York, Omaha, Baltimore, Atlanta, Dallas, Raleigh, Chicago, Kansas City, Washington, D.C., and Houston.
I love it. And we got Keller, Texas online here on my LinkedIn page. So we got folks all over, and I think we probably have our Ohio folks in too. And I, as always, I appreciate every listen, every tune in, because I know y'all have a choice. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world and in our lives today. So I appreciate that y'all are taking time to tune into the show for sure. Good morning, Mama Young. We have Odessa, Texas in the house. So it is my privilege and honor to be here with all of you on another Tuesday morning. And I am grateful that I'm able to do this. Grateful that I was able to be connected by the amazing Hong, to Adrian, to Jerry, right? To Jay, back to Jerry, right? It is just, it's incredible. It's incredibly satisfying and humbling to be able to be in this space and to be able to connect people who are also just trying to do good work and make a big impact. And I'm going to get a chance to hang out with some more people today at the downtown Launchpad and do some of the same things, talking about founder and entrepreneur, burnout and how we avoid that. So I'll be telling some of my story today at lunchtime. So hopefully you registered, and I will see you at the downtown Launchpad this noon today. So Jerry, and I know you're working on some stuff, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. So when you think about this vision that you have, and Jerry and we have such a good time. She told me I haven't told her this. She told me the other day, she said, yeah, we're doing some things with the station, and we have, this broadcast booth where the producer usually sits, and because Jerry and I have been in the studio together since my show started, right? She's sitting like right across the desk from me. Y'all can't see her, but because she likes to hide, she don't like people to see who she is.
That's not true.
So, but she told me, I'm opening up the studio. We're doing some things. I'm going to get the broadcast booth back ready, so I'll be there. That's where the producer goes. my heart hurt a little bit because I'm like, I like being in this little space with Jerry because, it's an energy, right? We've talked about that before. There's an energy with that sharing space together. But anyway, as we talk about, or as I talked about today, these connections and listening to you and Jay, and thank you again so much for that, those lovely words yesterday. And you think about where you've been and where you're going. How do you think about, manage, nurture, right? Your like real connections to people or places or whatever.
I've learned to protect a lot of them. And when I say protect them, because when you have, honestly, I go back to this. My first and foremost connection is I'm gonna always say God.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put out there what you want God to do for you, then he sends the resources, the people, and the places. Now, there are some places that he'll say, connect this person and connect that person. And then sometimes it just happens uniquely because they're connected to you and automatically they get whatever you get. And so that happens. But then there's some connections that you don't really share because you protect those connections.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be,
right.
Like that. Like, girl, don't put me out there like that.
Right.
I'm doing it for you. Okay, and I've learned that because my mother taught me that. Now,
yes.
I'm you a ride home. I tell you to bring these.
Right.
So I protect them, but I also, it just happens like you say it.
Yeah.
Connection for me happens organically.
Yeah.
It's like it's something that's automatically in you because I do realize we're not going to get what we need to get to by ourselves.
No.
And everybody needs a break. And when you talk about Jay, and I think about him saying how he wished he could be back in radio.
Yes.
That's a God thing that hurt him.
Absolutely.
And so moved upon you to say, come meet me.
Mm-hmm.
That I believe that when we are connected with the divine one, he's going to make sure we're going to get connected one way or another. But we're grateful when people are obedient to follow that, like you call it, God way. I call it that lead of the Spirit to let this happen so it all takes place. And then nothing happens until he's ready for it to happen.
Right.
It's been what, 2.5 years?
2.5 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
And I do production, so I
all the time. Yes.
So it always happens
when it's supposed to. Yeah. It is incredible. As I was listening to you, I was thinking about, my girls, my village. And so I've got my sister circle, and I've got my friends for life, and I got my Fierce Five, right? And when I think about those groups that are in my village, my friends for life, we've known each other since our mamas were best friends, right? Our connection was made in the womb, essentially. So we grew up with that connectedness. We grew up with that alignment and acknowledgement and support. It was just inherent because of how we came into this world, right? And then I look at my sister circle, right? The sister circle, it started, and there are a couple of people in there who I've been connected to forever. One of them I met when I was at Rice, right? And we've been friends for over 30 years. And she had reached out to me and said, Laurel, I need a group of women. I just feel like I need to connect with some Black women. And she's like, so I'm reaching out to you because I know you know people, right? And I thought, I never thought about that. I probably need to do that too. And through that process, a friend that I'm connected to in Cincinnati, a friend of hers moved down here. Someone else that I'm connected to who's in New York, a friend of hers moved down here. That friend happened to be a member of my sorority, right? So we were all connected there. So I started meeting these people and thinking, oh, we need to connect, and got this group of people together that just clicked, right? Which, y'all, I will get another sister circle call going here soon, I promise. And then I look at my Fierce Five, the women I took to Jamaica with me for my 50th, right? My Fierce Five, one of whom has been with me since, birth, right? The others have been with me 20, 30 years through so much stuff, right? Through moves, through different jobs, through overseas, through so much stuff. And yet, when we went to Jamaica, the common connector was me, right? So, like, one of them knew two of the people, and another person knew one of the people. Some of them didn't know anybody, right? Or had met just once through me when I was living in Cincinnati. There wasn't that. They hadn't been friends like I had been friends with all of them, but I knew them all well enough and knew what I wanted for that 50th. and knew where they were in their lives and where I was in my life, that said, you know what? We all need this. We all need this. And now they are connected with or without me, right? They're talking about stuff. They're chit-chatting. Oh yeah, I talked to so-and-so. I talked to so-and-so. I'm like, oh, well, that's great, right? It is awesome to see the other friendships it's like a hub and spoke, right? The other friendships that spur when you are willing to sit in your spot as a connector, as a filter, right? To know that the genius you have, the love that you have, the care and kindness you have is meant to flow through you. It's not meant to stay with you. It is meant to come to you and flow through you into the world to other people, right? To other relationships, to other opportunities. Because if you keep it for yourself, what's the point? What's the point, right? Even today, when I got a chance to hear Nikki's presentation, because we had connected before and we had a conversation, but today she used gardening a lot in examples. I'm like, see, Lord, I hear you. Another God wink. I'm gonna have to connect even deeper with this person because she's using the gardening things just like I did, right? Leadership lessons from the garden, gardening things about tilling soil, about trying to just throw these seeds when you're trying to get people to change on this hard soil. You got to really work the soil first if you want seeds you planted to actually be able to take root. Who else talks like that, right? So I'm like, okay, gotta hear you. That another connection I need to make, right? That's a little bit deeper than just surface, than just, oh yeah, it was great to meet you. No. There is something else there that is supposed to be planted, that is supposed to be sown so that it can be harvested later. I don't know that that's for me so much as it may be for somebody else, but it's supposed to be. And if I think about connections as the ability to make an impact, then reaching out to folks, talking to folks, connecting people with other people is so much easier because it's not about me. It's not about me, right? It's about what is the impact that we're trying to make.
Is it kind of about you though? When I say that, I say because isn't it about fulfilling a purpose and what you are called to fulfill? Like I heard you say that when you came here, you were brought here from one guy to connect with Adrian. And then there I was. And then I said, okay, let's do a show. But isn't it all about kind of like you being kind of obedient, open to it? Because if you're not, it doesn't happen. And if you're not the one that he uses, then the other elements that have to come into place don't come into place. Because so much happens out of one connection.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. It is about me, but it's not about my ego. It is about me in that if I don't show up, if I'm not willing to address, face, understand, acknowledge my own stuff and my own purpose, I can't fulfill that. So in that way, yes, it's about me. But so many times people try to get connected because of the ego. I want to be able to say, I know Jerry P. Beasley. I want to be able to say I'm at KCOH. I want to be able to say I'm talking to people at XYZ. I want to be able to say I was on this stage. I want to be able to say I run a 7, 8, 9-figure business because then I'm in the 2% club. Okay, well, that's great for you. But what is that doing for anybody else? And maybe you're one of those people that nobody else matters. Okay, that's if that works for you, okay. But it's in some ways it's about us because you're right. We have to show up. I have to be mindful. I have to pay attention. I have to seek and follow direction. And I have to know that the deeper reason for that is bigger than me. It's about what I can leave and how I can impact and how I can, make bigger the things that I've given. Because as you said, we can't do all of this alone. And the only way to make the kind of impact I want to make is to have other people be able to make the impact too, for them to be able to show up in their genius. All right. That's why I say I'm chief navigation officer, right? Helping other people navigate spaces where they can show up and dispel stereotypes, right? Begin to be leaders. They're already leaders, right? But to show up as leaders, to have representation happen because representation matters. And to have that impact everyone else that comes up, right? Each one reach one, each one teach one. It's important to to have enough ego to show up, but be able to leave the ego to make the impact, if that makes sense. That answers your
And not
question.
to have an attitude, because
Right.
I've had people say, I'm gonna connect you with so and so, and I'll be like, girl, I don't want your connection because you're gonna be acting funny after you get it. But then you mess up the opportunity for the person who was supposed to be connected.
Right.
So that's when it really is not about you, because
Right.
if you have an attitude, then the person that was supposed to get the blessing from the connection
Right.
doesn't get it. So you really do have to get out of yourself in order to see what the bigger picture is.
Right.
You know, you took Dr. Hickman from me. You
Right.
I didn't have the attitude of a girl, come here. You was with me. You got Michelle over here. You got Denise over here.
Right. Because I love them. And I so love that they love me. I am humbled and honored that they love me. But see, I wouldn't know them and they wouldn't know me except for you.
But the deal is, and you just said it, we can make the connection, but
Right.
it's still going to be up to you
Yes.
to keep the connection, because I've had people get mad, like,
Right.
well, you can hook me up with so-and-so, and they act, no, it was up to you
Right.
to be able
To
to
manage
maintain the connection.
Right.
'Cause maybe it was something they didn't like about you.
Right.
So for these people that, even though you met them through me, still be with you,
Yes.
that means you maintain that connection. And those are important too, because
Absolutely.
you don't want to just be free willy, putting people together and then they breaking up and mad at you.
Right. You do have to be now. So to Jerry's point, let me be clear. Making connections and being a conduit for those connections doesn't mean that you are not discerning.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you don't pay attention. Because there are people that I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Love you, mean it. I'm not going to say anything disparaging about you, but I'm not necessarily going to open up my network to you because I know you. I know you and I know how you move. And how you move is not representative of how I move. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do things my way. That's not what I mean. What I mean is there's a level of integrity and honesty and vulnerability and how you treat people, all that kind of stuff that is important to me. And if you move different than that, I'll still love you from afar, but I'm not necessarily going to open up my network to you because I don't want you treating people and treating the relationships that I have cultivated any kind of way.
Yeah.
So you do have to be, even when you are connecting, part of your ability to connect is an ability to be discerning and honest with folks. You know, I've had people say, you know, I really want to meet so-and-so. Can you connect? No, I cannot.
Right.
I cannot. But let me tell you why. I don't just say no, right? Although no is a complete sentence. I will often tell people, and it's been good to learn this too. I will often say, you know what? I don't think that's a good connection or a connection that makes sense. And let me tell you why. And I will tell them. And because it opens a door for a conversation about behavior, about disconnected values. And when you say it with love, as my friend V always say, let me tell you this with LOVE, right? And then you know something hard is going to come. But it is said with love. When the door opens for you to have that conversation, you need to step through that door with respect for the other person, but just say the thing. I do not feel comfortable connecting you in this manner because this particular experience, if you do that with this person, this is what that means. And that's not good for you. It's not good for them. And it will completely undermine my level of integrity with this person because they trust me with the people that I send to them. And they automatically respond in a specific way when it comes from me. So I am protecting that. As you said, Jerry, I'm protecting that.
Right.
I am
as I
protecting
told
that.
Jay, I didn't have to vet him because
Right.
I knew you. And
Right.
if I know how you move, then that kind of eliminates all that extra stuff because I don't think you move shady. So I followed your lead. Oh, okay.
Right.
I'm sure she checked him out.
Right.
All of that adds up. And
Yes. Yes. It's that social currency, right? It's it's what you build and gain and hold by how you show up and how you interact with people and how you treat people. That comes back to you through your connections, around your connections, with your connections. So it is important to protect them. It's important to protect them. And it's important to be honest with people who you don't want to connect. If they open the door, if you truly love them, if they are in your village, then you find a way to have that conversation, or you know them well enough to know, you know what, it doesn't even make sense to have this conversation because they're not going to understand it, they're not going to get it, or they're not in a place to hear it. And that's okay. That's said without any judgment. Because if you know them, then you know that stuff. And you are saying it in a way to treat them with dignity and respect as well. Because not everyone, we've talked about this in terms of service and servant leadership. Not everyone is in a space or a mindset or a heart set to be served. Not everyone is able to accept and feel and hear and do something with feedback that may be less than positive. You got to meet people where they are, or at least understand where they are, so then you can move accordingly, right? I try to listen actively because I let that inform my actions. Not because I'm scared to do something, or not because I'm going to change up who I am. However, I may change when and how I say something based on what I'm seeing and hearing from someone in terms of time, whether or not I'm going to do it at all. You know, all this stuff comes into play based on what I see and what I experience, because the experiences are real, right? And then we delve into the narratives that come to us around those experiences. But those connection is about impact. Connection is about legacy, right? Connection is about understanding and listening and supporting and moving and making change. Making change. That's what connection is about. That's the value of having really strong, beautiful, powerful connections. That's where the beauty is, right? Of doing that kind of thing. It's not just in being able to say you have it, it's being able to have them and do something with them. That's the beauty of having amazing connections.
That's like social media, because with social media, you work hard to build up a following, you work hard to build up a clientele of people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just open that up to everybody, because
Right.
you worked hard to build this clientele. That's what we're talking about, the station disclaimer
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't run yet.
Right.
But the more shows you get in, yes, that becomes vital that you
Right.
put that, because association doesn't mean connection.
Right.
And people get that twisted, because they think if they see the selfie together and everybody hugged up, you're connected. That doesn't mean connection.
Yeah. Did y'all hear that? Connected doesn't mean connection.
Yeah.
Connected doesn't mean connection. That is so right, Jerry. That is so right. Especially now, you know, we go to places and I'm so bad, although I've already made myself a note to be sure to do some recordings and take some pictures and thing of my event at noon today, because I'm so bad about that. And I do have people around me who are going to do it. And even this event I'm going to in June, the woman I was talking to, she's like, I got you. She said, I do it for everybody else. She said, I got you. I said, girl, I just forget, right? I'm in the moment. All of my energy is sucked up to be present with the people I'm present with. I'm not thinking about pictures to be able to post on social. I'm just not. And I know that's important, right? So I just need some assistance. I need a connection that's going to have my back in that area, because I know me. And so I'm prepared, right? To be able to take those selfies today, right? To take the picture, to be able to make the genuine connection with people and get it recorded. And for my knowledge, right? For my receipts to say, yeah, I really did show up and I was there. But also because there are a lot of people that it means a lot to them when they get a chance to directly talk to you, take a picture with you, whatever it is, when you are on a stage, right? Or you are at an event and you are headlining something, or you're on a panel. It means something to people. Again, connection is about understanding what's important to the other person, right? And it means something sometimes to those other people that they've had a chance to connect with somebody that they admire, that they heard a message from that resonated with them. And it's important to make yourself available to do that, right? And it can take a lot, especially for those of us who have energy challenges, right? It can take a lot to be on camera all the time, or take all the pictures, or post all the things. It takes a lot to be able to do that. And it is important, when you think about connections, to recognize that it's not about you. If you're truly trying to make an impact, then you got to understand that what you're doing is for a greater purpose, hopefully for the greater good, right? And so you do those things that may be uncomfortable or take more time or whatever the thing is, right? You do that because it's important to do it, because it matters to folks. That's why you do it. That's why you do it. You don't do it for ego, right? You do it for impact. At least that's why I do things. I try to keep impact at the forefront of everything I do. What is the impact that this is going to make? And how does this impact my overall goal, right? My big why. How does this impact the why of my business? And how does this impact my deeper, bigger why? And then I take action. And I can now do that fairly quickly just because those things are so deep, right? I can do that fairly quickly now. I didn't used to always be able to do that. It used to take me a minute. But now I can do those and move a little faster. Unless I'm trying to figure out what kind of technology platform I'm going to use for something. That takes me forever, it seems like.
So you have a problem taking pictures and videos of you at an event that you're speaking
I
at?
just forget, Jerry. I just forget.
That's kind of silly.
I
You gotta
know.
stop that. Because at the end of the day, that is your
I
card.
know,
That's
because
your
I'm my
marketing
brand.
card. Yeah.
I know. It is not a habit that I have developed. To thine own self be true. It is not a habit I have developed, but that is one of the things for me. One of my intentions in 2023 is as I do these pop-ups, right? Just like I forgot to take the behind the scenes, all that madness I had to be able to get the camera up to the right height, right? My intent, it was madness, y'all. You should have seen it. And I wish I'd had a picture. Because we do what we got to do to make things happen. And even though it looks really messy behind the scenes, it worked. And so my intent this year and my area of discipline is to be prepared and to set up so that I can take pictures, record video, whatever it is I need to do to ensure that I am getting that record, right? Not only for other people and for social media, but honestly, to remind myself of the work that I'm doing and why I am doing it, right? It's not about a public brag book. It is about a reminder of continuing to walk in purpose and walk into the impact I'm trying to make. That's why you do it. I just forget, right? Because I still have this thing about always being on camera and all that kind of stuff.
Can I
still
say
have
that
yeah.
some people will think it's a public brag
Oh,
book,
of course.
and it doesn't really matter.
It don't matter.
Because it's your book. And at the end of the day, it is also your business card. That's
right.
The way other people get to know what you do. Because I would love to see you speak
Yes.
somewhere and put that out there. Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of my bookings come from me videoing me speaking
yes.
somewhere, doing something,
yes.
and people see it on the internet. So the internet is a powerful tool.
It is.
And we have to all get past that. What if people think I'm bragging? What if they're gonna probably think that anyway? That's their business. They don't pay you.
And those are not your people. If that's what they think, those are not your people, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it is one of the things. One of the reasons, like you meeting Jay, one of those things is, you know what? I've been doing this show. Next week, y'all. Next week is the 3-year anniversary.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Oh,
We
no.
started in 2020. It's the 3-year anniversary, right? Yeah, 3-year anniversary next week of the show. And so, as I met Jay and he talked about doing this videography, I'm like, why don't I have some behind the scenes at the station? Now, we had COVID and we weren't bringing in a whole lot of people and all that kind of stuff. But as the world opens up and as I look at other things I'm going to do and the messages I want to get out, I'm like, I need to have behind the scenes. I need people to see, the setup and see the station and see how it all comes together. That is important for people to see because then it says it's real. It's real. Yes, you see the station, you see all these people running by. We didn't make this up. This isn't a green screen, right? This is real. This is really Alameda and Wichita and Houston, Texas. But people need to see that. So I'm going to figure it out. And we're just going to make it happen. We got to get a date so that Jay can come back and get all set up and make sure we can do some behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, it's those connections, those things you do, the things you make, the people you meet. Don't take any of that lightly because you never know when you are going to be the person that someone else has been looking for, has been praying for, has been needing. And that connection you make to them is exactly what they needed in that moment. You never know. And that's why you keep showing up. That's why you keep doing your thing. That's why you keep doing the best you can do every day. Not seeking perfection. One of my first coaches said the P in perfection is for poison, right? It's not perfection because, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. It is about showing up so you can be a gift to someone else, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. I think that's an old Buddhist proverb, Chinese proverb, something like that. So yeah. So that's it for today. Connections. Go out and make some. Go out and be one. Understand how someone being connected to you actually impacts them, right? And how your connection to them impacts you. We are all somehow connected. The world is connected. So let's utilize those to make an impact. Thank y'all for tuning in. This week, so Wednesday, tomorrow at noon on Fireside, Chef B will be with me. She is a plant-based, vegetarian, vegan chef out of Atlanta. We're going to talk about health and how to go plant-based and what that can do for your heart health, and that you don't have to all of a sudden give up everything tomorrow, right? But we're going to talk about that and about her journey and all the things that she has done on Fireside tomorrow at noon Central, 1 Eastern. So you can go onto all of my profiles and you can get connected to Fireside. Fireside is now on Android as well, or you can just watch on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@the Rutledge Perspective. That's my YouTube channel. So that's tomorrow at noon with Chef B. And then I'll have some, hopefully, because I got to get them finalized, some amazing women to talk to on Fireside next month as well. And you will hear some interviews of some amazing entrepreneurs and coaches and things on the podcast for the month of March. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everybody. Thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. And we will check you next week. Take care. Bye.
I know we have a global audience, and I want to acknowledge you for taking the time